In the gold-lit dark of ancient Egypt, where lamplight trembles against carved stone, a single door holds a secret older than the kingdom itself. Behind it stands a queen, young, adored, and already betrayed. She had been raised to believe the throne would protect her, that a crown was the same thing as safety. She was wrong. In the end, the very people who knelt before her would be the ones to close the cage. They called her beloved. They bowed as she passed, lined the marble halls, and spoke her name like a blessing. But in a palace built on whispers, admiration is only a mask for ambition. "I thought I was appreciated," she would say, her voice barely above the dark. "I thought I was respected." By the time she understood how the game was truly played, the trap had already sprung, and there was no one left she could trust. Into her world came an outsider, a man with no crown and no army, only a torch in his hand and a reason to dig. He had crossed deserts and seas for the tombs of the old kings, for the riddles carved into stone before memory began. He cared nothing for thrones or politics. He had come to read what the dead had left behind. But the Nile has a way of binding fates together, of pulling strangers into the same current. And what he found waiting in the dark was not gold and not glory. It was her. Across the dunes, beneath a sun that forgives nothing, their paths crossed and crossed again. A queen riding out in golden procession, surrounded by guards who watched her like a prize. A wanderer kneeling alone in the sand, reading marks no one else could see. Two people moving toward the same buried answer from opposite ends of the world. Each of them still certain, for now, that they walked entirely alone. Below the temples lay another Egypt, a labyrinth of sealed chambers and false walls, where every carving was a warning and every door was a test designed to kill the unworthy. "Same design as the secret door on this side," he whispered, dragging his fingers across the cold relief. The builders had hidden their kings to keep them safe for all eternity, sealing them beneath layers of stone and curse and shadow. But in hiding the dead so well, they had also hidden the only way back out. And now 2 living souls were trapped inside the puzzle, and the deeper they went, the closer death began to follow. A serpent uncoiling in the shadow, its eyes catching the torchlight, a blade waiting somewhere just beyond the flame. Some should not be executed. A voice insisted in the dark above them, even as the kingdom demanded blood to feed its fear. They escaped death that day, but only just, and only because they stopped running from each other and started running together, 2 hands finding one another in the black. Yet survival, it turned out, was never the hardest thing between them. "You're just watching from a distance," she told him, and the truth of it cut deeper than any blade. He had spent his entire life observing, recording, standing one safe step back from everything, refusing to belong to any place, any cause, any person. She asked him to do the one thing he had always refused. For the first time, a man who studied the rise and fall of empires had to decide whether he was brave enough to stand inside one. Because far beyond the desert, a far greater power was already stirring. In the hills above an endless sea of tents and banners and firelight, Caesar stood and looked out over an army that had never tasted defeat. Egypt was ancient, golden, and slowly dying. Rome was young, hungry, and rising like a tide that would swallow the world. And caught in the narrow space between a fading kingdom and an unstoppable empire, stood a queen who refused to kneel, and the one man who, in the end, finally chose to stay beside her. Their names would crumble from the stone. Their story never would.